Avatars, Aliens, and Self Actualization Within the Matrix, Part 6, The Fall, a wisdom teaching from the Intergalactic Alliance of Light Beings, with Canadian psychic medium, Tracey Milne. Greetings, friends. In our last message, we mentioned we would begin examining the recovery mission. However, Chimera has been kind enough to remind me that perhaps we should first cover the fall of the Dark Fleet players and the fallout for the rest of us still in the game. I hope this message offers you greater clarity as to how and why we ended up in this mess in the first place. Enjoy. Question: why was this belief pattern allowed to continue? Were there any elders who could have stopped this trouble? The elders, or parents of the founding families, came together to weigh the pros and cons of allowing for such a shift to be explored. Eventually, it was decided that a space within the game platform was to be made available to allow the players involved to play out the variables from such a massive shift in consciousness, away from source truth that all are equally beloved as parts of source expression in individualized conscious form. An alternative was created that allowed for the natural unfolding of the many lessons to be learned from their twisted vibrational frequency platform. Question: what took place that allowed for the contaminated players to answer their convoluted curiosity? This mutation was allowed under a special source agreement that was created for the experiment in consciousness. This agreement has since expired. While in place, the temporary measure offered the Dark Fleet players a means to develop as they learned along service to self ascension pathways they had chosen. They had a challenge on their hands because their contamination disabled their abilities to create in the same ways they had when still carrying a majority of light particles and patterns within their consciousness makeup, one of the many consequences learned through their choices. In order for those players to continue to develop, they had to find a way to trick, cajole, or take the creations made by the light-infused players. And this they did with much zealous energy, teaming up with other Dark Fleet players and utilizing all of the planes of existence to accomplish their dastardly takeover agenda. As such, they often work on the extra-dimensional levels and planes of existence with dark essence energies, their main goal or objective being that of stealing energies through subversion, infiltration, and enslavement of the hearts and minds of the beings subjected to their false light programs. Question: after the fall in consciousness, could the Dark Fleet make up any game rules they wanted? No. When this particular class, who is incarnate on Earth right now, entered the game, they did so in agreement of certain rules of engagement called the Emerald Covenant, which was created to allow for the contamination questions to be answered to their fullest extent. Within this covenant, the light pledged to keep the universal laws and to defend themselves but never attack. The dark pledged to break every law, conceding to agree to tell any players they were about to harm of their plans before carrying them through. The light pledged to host the 7 virtues, the dark to embody the 7 deadly sins. Progenitors and oversight councils were put into place as a means of maintaining balance between the dark and the light. To support this agreement in an attempt to keep balance, it was agreed that the side of the Light Fleet and the Dark Fleet would be given its own quantum AI mapping system, an Alpha Light system, and an Omega Dark system. This was meant to help track lessons and create new probability factors. Some chose to stay within neutral zones and could be recorded by either AI system, which, as we mentioned before, is a learning program able to develop its own conscious awareness, expanding its knowledge base over time and space. But loopholes were discovered and utilized to their maximum capacity by Dark Fleet players, creating ripples of disturbances within consciousness itself that contaminated the minds, and hearts of the players between levels 11 and 10 and 1 through 5 of the game platforms, as the downfall to these AI systems was that they could be programmed to disregard certain information based on the good or bad intentions of the programmer. When the game on Earth was overtaken by the Dark Fleet, the Source Light Alpha AI interface program here was reprogrammed by the Dark to calculate humans as a danger to the Draco and Abraxas it was programmed to protect. Luckily, the Draco are gone from Earth, and the issue of the dueling AI systems has been taken care of by the Guardian and her team. Question: what, if anything, has been done to change the dynamics of the game? A recovery mission was launched that had to be done from the ground up. Those hearing this message are a part of the team who volunteered to help create and live out a new alternative timeline. A do-over, if you will. It's the reason why some of you have vowed on a soul level to choose differently this time around, and why that inner knowing is so strong. Thanks to the tireless efforts of the Guardian for Earth and her team, the Earth is now free of the influences of the Dark Fleet's hold on these two systems. Earth has been pledged back into alignment with Source. Once more, have 7 other planets who are in similar circumstances. The rules of the game have changed, offering the light an opportunity to overthrow their oppressors once and for all. What you are living through right now is the cleanup of consciousness for those who have fallen so deeply into shadow thinking that they either refuse to change or simply cannot find their way back to the light. Then there are the ones who truly enjoy the act of being evil and are no longer being given leeway to do as they please. The Dark Fleet players have been given a choice: get on board with the ascension of Earth or get out of the way. The Earth and her people are no longer required to wait for those few contaminated players to change their minds or their ways, as many ancient agreements keeping them in power within the game are no longer in place. They have made their choice on a soul level and are being returned straight back to Source one by one by the Guardian's enforcement team. This time around, many of you have remained as undiluted in your consciousness as possible through limiting your avatar copies, making it easier to reunite and heal all fractals of your consciousness that may have been lost or torn away over the course of the game. There will always be an avatar for you to occupy as you continue to collapse the old timeline behind you and move up into the higher vibrational frequency fields and back to your original state of mind before entering the game. In this way, you will always feel like you, just lighter in spirit, mood, and heaviness of heart, as you continue to move out of their false light refraction program. Question: what is a false light refraction program? Consider the idea that all souls are born of Source, so in essence, all souls are of pure light. It is only when you enter the game and add filters to the way you consciously perceive reality that creates fractures, fissures, and streaks in the lens you see your life through. In order for those Dark Fleet players to become overrun with Shadowland frequencies, or turn their essence into darkness, or total absence of light, they had to crack their lenses, thereby limiting their abilities to create from anything but refractive light. This refraction then got projected into their holographic fields, manifesting their desires into the hologram, only in service to self, not Source. Regrettably, by the time the contamination was noticed as a significant problem, the direction of the original game had been taken off the path of natural soul ascension and thrown into a false fractal system, where endless recycling of souls with their memories erased was chosen as a means of keeping the Dark Fleet players in a position of false power indefinitely. What's worse, the Dark Fleet chose to purposefully alter your 36-strand DNA genetic templates in order to make humans easier to control, manipulate, and manage. It also gave them access to commingle their genetic material with the Earth Star Angel DNA, allowing them to jump between stargates with greater ease. In order to keep an endless game of good guys and bad guys going longer, with many inhabited planets and star systems made unwilling puppets by the Dark Fleet's convoluted game. Question: what sorts of control programs were used by the Dark Fleet? By superimposing their refracted frequencies in order to be the controlling entity, through its hidden agenda, the Dark Fleet can create overlays of perception and overlays of identity, and this is the means of Dark Fleet mind control. It is called a holographic insert, and a visual audio media is one of their favorite methods of delivery. The Dark Fleet also used presumed consent, etheric implants, frequency disruptors, false information appearing real, subversion, manipulation, and lies as a means of controlling the minds, hearts, and creative abilities of the Light Team players. By controlling the narrative, they control the perception of truth. In this way, one can control the consciousness of the individual and eventually, through subversion of the original identity, possess the being's body and mind to become subservient to an agenda that is neither organic nor natural to the soul. Question: why did they want the Earth humans so badly? Your DNA is unique, as was your original design and original templates created by the three founder races, participating in and responsible for the conscious evolution and ascension of all classroom players. As the Dark Fleet converted their energies into darker and darker essence, their ability to return to their original conscious state became weaker and weaker until they stopped remembering who they really are altogether. They have told themselves the same lie for so long, they don't remember anything beyond their own story, and they want human bodies in order to bypass the natural soul lessons and progression, in order to reach and overtake higher levels of consciousness and conscious creation within the universal matrices. One of the reasons Earth humans and incarnate starseeds in particular are so desired for conversion and so unique is that you are able to heal, change, alter, and adjust these refracted light patterns through the compassionate witnessing and intentional healing of what hurts you to believe in about yourself and others. If they can confuse you enough to get you to limit your belief in your abilities to effectively change the game or create new conditions, they can keep their game of duplicity and duality going indefinitely. You, as incarnate starseeds, are making a massive shift right in the game platform each time you challenge and remove the artificial, inorganic deadlight programs designed to clog your mental, emotional, and spiritual processing within the hologram. You are succeeding in overthrowing their dark agenda. It's a big task you have undertaken, but you are winning, so don't stop now. Question: why are we winning this time around? Is this incarnation different or special from other lifetimes? The difference between this time you entered the game and the first time is that this time you have the additional support of a large team of light-infused players who have taken on many forms and expressions in order to assist you in emancipation of Earth. Your team were the first 144,000, and you came in and went back in what you would perceive as your past in order to create from your heart and mind and then anchor a new timeline. And you did so knowing you would have to repeat some very nasty experiences from your first Earth expression. Question: who are the 144 and what do they have to do with incarnate starseeds and lightworkers? To discover that answer and more, be sure to check out Avatars, Aliens, and Self Actualization Within the Matrix, Part 7, The Recovery Mission of the 144. Until then, thanks for watching. Brought to you by WhatComesNextForYou.com. What comes next for you? What's in your future?